how does Google figure out which websites to display? That's SEO. It's not rocket science. The key headings of it are: make sure your page is very, very clear what it does. Google has this kind of algorithm, and it scans millions and millions of websites every second of every day. If Google's computers, robots they call them, very quickly can spot what your website is about, what this page is about, it puts you into, I can easily understand that tick, moves on to the next one. And then it knows when somebody types in something, says, hang on a minute, I know exactly, that's the perfect answer, being in your page gets shown. If it can't understand what it is, if your message is unclear, it won't show you to anybody because it doesn't understand how your page, how your website solves the customer's problem or solves whatever somebody types into Google. So that's broadly SEO. Make sure your page is it's a long topic and there's a lot more to it than that. Very broadly, is your page really clear what it does, what's it saying? Google will help you. Adverts. Nothing wrong with paid adverts at all. They absolutely have their use. But you need to think about it. So if you pay for adverts, and you can start at a few pounds a day to do advertising online, and you can use some tools that allow you to do it for £10 a month. It doesn't have to be expensive. But the key thing to remember is with an advert, once somebody's seen it, PPC, pay per click, so typically what that means is when somebody's seen your advert, it's gone. Once they've seen it once, it's gone, and your chance of using that, whatever you paid for, is gone, it's over. So there's no kind of longevity. If you buy 100 clicks, per se, once 100 people have clicked on your advert, all your money's gone. So if you don't convert those 100 into customers, you're starting again from no sales, and you've got a cost again. So you've got to be very, very clear who you want to advertise, what your conversation is about, where is the best place to advertise. The nice thing about search engine optimization is it's talking about making your website friendly, having the right blog articles, the right images, the right explanation videos, etc., etc., etc. Takes a bit longer to create them. Takes longer to get them to the front of Google, if you like, Google search engine or Bing or whoever. But once they're done, it's a bit like an asset. They've got some longevity. If you've created a really great article that really in detail explains why your product or service is great and what it solves their problem, somebody could read it tomorrow, but your page is still going to be there in 3 years' time. Somebody could read it in 3 years' time and say, actually, that resonates with me. That makes sense. I'm still interested in that. Great, move on. So spend a bit of time building up your collateral is important. Okay, so let's get down to some costs and things we can do nice and quickly and cheaply. Email marketing. Email marketing absolutely works. It is still, across the board, the number one way of getting customers. Emailing people on a regular basis. Don't spam them, don't overdo it, but it is still the number one most cost-effective way of getting business. So, let's think through how we do it. Again, it's down to the customer. Who are you talking to? So if you're talking to the managing director of, I don't know, SA or British Telecom or one of these really big companies, perhaps your email needs to be quite plain, quite formal, quite short and to the point. It may be he or she reads it. It may be their PA or their secretary or their assistant or whoever reads it. Depends on your product. If your target customer is an 18-year-old because you're selling the latest Nike trainers, the 18-year-old doesn't want a plain, boring email. He's not going to read that. But he might well look at it if it's got a funky video, it's got a little bit of soundtrack to it. You offer him a free something or other, free competition. First 100 people to fill it in, get a free pair of trainers. Well, why wouldn't I do it? So again, just think about who your customer is. The whole presentation is all about be clear who the customer is. How do you appeal to them? Email doesn't have to be boring. But be clear, and there are some rules here. GDPR, for you guys that don't know it, it's a rule the EU brought in 2 or 3 years ago, but it's in UK law now. Absolutely continues to apply to us. What that basically says is you can't spam email people forever. You've got to store people's data safely and securely. But what it doesn't mean is you can never email somebody. And what it doesn't mean is you can never email somebody cold who doesn't know you. What it does say is that you must respect their decision. If they don't want to be emailed anymore, you've got to give them an unsubscribe, and they opt out of it, and you've got to absolutely respect that and not email them again. Typically, if you've got a sort of a website or go to an exhibition, you collect people's email address, you've got to expressly ask permission to be able to talk to them on a regular basis. You can't assume you are allowed to do it until they say no. These GDPR rules reverse that. They've got to expressly opt in rather than you asking them to expressly opt out to stop. So you just got to get people's permission, just be clear. But if you're a business-to-business company, you can email once or twice on a cold calling basis under the heading of reasonable interest. So, were I a washing machine supplier, parts supplier? There is no reason why I couldn't email the MDs of washing machine manufacturers, so Zanussi, Philips, etc., a couple of times, because it's reasonable to suggest they might want to buy my things. They sell washing machines, I sell washing machine parts. It's perfectly okay for me to target them once or twice. If they say no, I've got to stop. If they don't engage with my email, don't open and read them, after a couple of times, 2 or 3, it's not specific in the regulations. But if they don't engage in it, I've got to stop anyway because they're clearly not interested. So just be careful of that. If you're in doubt, go onto Google or Bing or whatever and search for some GDPR kind of top 10 rules. There's hundreds and hundreds of pages of advice out there. It's just about being sensible, broadly. Just about being sensible. Okay. In your email, make sure you've got what's called a call to action, a POP, a button that says, click here to register for our free webinar. Click here to get your 10% discount. Click here for a free demonstration. Click here to be called back for our free 30-day trial. Give them something to do. At the end of the email, give them an action, something to do. Click here, visit our website, click this button, call this number, give them something to do. They might not do it, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So give them something to do, then you've got a chance of them doing that thing, and therefore you're in and talking to them. Classic email error, talking about too many things. A marketing email, broadly, should be about one thing, one product or service. That doesn't mean that you can't do a general newsletter once a month, once every couple of months, that talks about 2 or 3 things. You can. But don't make that your only email communication. Talk about one thing. So if I'm back to this, I'm the washing machine parts supplier. I might supply the manufacturers. So I'll talk to Philips and Zanussi or whatever. But I might also supply tradesmen who repair washing machines. So I'm going to have one email that goes to the tradesman and a completely different email that goes to the manufacturer. And for the manufacturer, I might talk about, I don't know, maybe I supply the door with the see-through kind of plasticky kind of glass door. I might talk about that this time. Another time I might talk about the fact that I do the drawer as well where you put the detergent. But I won't overburden them by saying, we do drawers, we do detergents, we do the top bit, we do the back bit. There's too much stuff. I don't even know how I can buy from you. Too many things. Talk about one thing at a time. Make sure your email is personalised. Hi Andy, dear Andy. Maybe even, and this is a little bit of a top tip, in the subject line of the email, Andy, are you joining us on Friday? Sounds a little bit glib and occasionally can seem a little bit OTT. Probably is if you're talking to the MD of British Telecom or BP or one of the big sort of FTSE companies. But if you're talking to most people, particularly if you're talking to the younger market, and you say, Andy, have you seen our latest trainers? Free offer here. You go, oh, okay, I'll open it. People having their name in the title or having their name certainly at the beginning, hi Andy, hey Andy, dear Andy, really does help. It makes people feel like you've taken them seriously. If they've already talked to you about a particular product or service, and you've stored that, typically in your email or in your CRM system, may I merge it into the email? Hi, Andy. If you remember, we talked about our washing machine parts a few months ago. I'd love to talk to you about our latest innovation. Personalise it, all about that. Put images in your emails or images on your website. Make sure they're clickable. So by clickable, we mean when they click the mouse on that image, it takes them to somewhere. The homepage of your website, the product page you're talking about, the special offer coupon, whatever. Don't just leave an image and they click on it, it doesn't go anywhere. Make sure it's hyperlinked behind the scenes so it takes them somewhere to do something. Yeah, silly one really, but it's absolutely true. Use space. Don't clutter up the email with 1,000 words. It's too much, people don't have time. Your white space is your friend. Keep it clean, plain and simple. Same again. Keep it simple. And the subject line. Make sure the subject line is interesting. If you can, put their name in it potentially, particularly if you're targeting the consumers or the younger end of the consumer, they like that kind of thing. A sense of urgency. Click it. Read this email for your 10% discount offer. It expires at the end of the month. Okay, well, I've got to do something by the end of the month then. I might open it. Try and give some sense of urgency, some sense of purpose that kind of encourages them to do something and do something kind of now, not leave it, I'll come back to it, which they hardly ever do. Give them some sense of urgency, but don't be overkill and don't, we're not 20 years ago second-hand car salesmen or double glazing salesmen. We're professional people, but giving a little bit of sense of urgency does encourage them. Right, one of the other cheap tools we can use, social media. Whether we like it or not, social media is an integral part of business nowadays. Personally, social media drives me mad. It just does drive me mad. But I do read it, and I absolutely have to use it for business purposes, whether I like it or not. So I've got to get friendly with it. I've got to be comfortable with it. But as we said earlier, just be clear what social media platform suits your customers. All again, back to the same thing. Who is your customer? What do they want to know about? Where do they spend their time? What do they read? So, does a 18-year-old kid who wants some new trainers look on LinkedIn for it? Very unlikely. Would he go on Facebook? Potentially. Would he be on Instagram tracking what his favourite footballer is wearing? Absolutely he would be, or she would be. So just think about, again, the consumer, where do they spend their time? Therefore, where do we need to engage with people, put messages on people, talk to people? Dig into your stats. You might be surprised. So I've got a particular customer, sports company. They told me before we started working with them a couple of years ago, we get all of our traffic on Instagram. Well, we don't get much action on Twitter. We get 20% of followers on Twitter compared to Instagram. It's all about Instagram. I said, okay, very good. Started helping them. Turned out they were absolutely correct. So they had something like 10,000 followers on Instagram and a couple of thousand on Twitter. However, once we track the stats, it turns out that the followers on Twitter actually bought more product than the followers on Instagram. So a lot of people look into them and they click through to their website. They didn't often make a purchase. On Twitter, they were almost always making a purchase. So even though there was 5 times less of them, they were spending more. Not just more per person, more compared to 10,000% off. So just be clear, understand your statistics. Again, back to the ideal customer. It's all about the customer. Sorry I'm labouring this, but it is all about the customer. Develop contents that suits your audience. Keep it valuable. Now, what do we mean by valuable? Doesn't necessarily mean you have to give them something free. It might be it's a research paper. It might be it's some advice. It might be it's a free trial. Give them something that doesn't necessarily cost you very much, maybe a bit of time, but something that they find of value. If you can give them value for nothing, eventually they will turn that and say, oh, that was useful, I got that. Great advice. I've looked at that. They're absolutely right. That one is the best. I'm going to buy it. Give them some value, and they think they begin to trust you. They begin to look out for you, begin to like you. You're helping them eventually buy from you. Social media, you don't always have to post your own things. I don't think you've got to sit there and write a new post every day, come up with a new article. You may or may not do that. It depends on the size of the team you've got. But typically, the best social media people will post something, and it does vary, something in the region of 3 posts where they repost other people's content to 1 post of their own. So again, back to the washing machine people. Maybe I will repost Philips talking about their latest washing machine, and then I'll repost a news sheet taking about their washing machine, and then I'll post a post of my own talking about my best spare parts and why they should use those, and how they're suitable for Philips and Zanussi. So don't be afraid to post other people's content, perhaps even post other people's content or repost, retweet, whatever platform you're on, other people's content more often than your own. Just remember, it's kind of going out slightly in your name. Just be careful you're comfortable that the people you're posting or reposting or suggesting are reputable. They're not going to kind of go behind your back. They're not going to do anything silly. Therefore, you get in trouble. Just be careful who you're posting. But if you can find somebody you like, or a company you trust, or a partner, reposting them, your followers will appreciate that. It isn't all about you. Collaborate and engage. Make it seem authentic. Kind of current word, isn't it? But make it seem real, again, another one of those words. It doesn't have to be really boring. It doesn't have to be. Social media, by definition, is fun. It's light-hearted. You can put emoji, you can put little pictures, you can put a witty comment. That's absolutely fine. If you engage with people, they were more likely to read you if they think, "Oh, that was a bit of fun. That was a bit of a joke. That was interesting." Be careful with the tone. Be careful who your audience is, what you're saying. The whole sort of political correctness thing. But you can afford to be light-hearted and jovial. Don't force engagement. Don't insist. Don't literally ram-raid everybody with all your own stuff. Don't make it everything, buy this, buy this, buy this. People just get wound up. Help them understand. Help them get involved. Help them believe and trust you. As I said, talk about other people's things. Talk about related items. If you're a pencil manufacturer, talk about the best pencil case manufacturer, the best pencil sharpener manufacturer. It's all relevant to you, and it helps. Just gotta, it fosters the collaboration. And this is where we're starting to get more interested in the digital realm. Automate things where possible. So, if you're going to do lots of postings on social media, don't think you've got to log in every day to Facebook and then post it, and then 10 minutes later log into Instagram and repost the same thing, but within a slightly different day, and then the same thing next day. Very, very time. There are lots of tools out there. Some of them are free, some of them are very cheap, that allow you to write your social media. Maybe on a Monday, you say, right, this is what I'm going to post on Monday, this is what I'm going to post on Tuesday, this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Write them all in one go. Tell the system to upload that one on a Monday at 10, that one on Tuesday at 3, that one on a Thursday at 5. And then you just sit back and you don't have to do it. You spend one morning doing your social media, the other 4.5 days it takes care of itself. From a productivity time, for you, much more efficient. I'll come to the tools, but there's some very good, very cost-effective tools that help you with that. And that leads me nicely on towards the end of the presentation, cost-effective tools and techniques. So, as a company within the digital world, whether digital marketing, sales, whatever, what are the sort of tools you should be thinking of? What should you realistically have in your kit bag? You should have a CRM system. Everybody should have a CRM system nowadays. And all that means is we track their names and phone numbers and emails. We track emails to and from them. We track when we called them. We log the inquiries they're talking to. We log their support tickets or their complaints or their jobs. So that if I'm typically dealing with Fred, and I'm off on holiday today, and Fred comes on and gets hold of the company and wants to talk about something that I was in the middle of, but he can't get hold of me to talk about it. My friend Sarah, who's sitting next to me, who's equally as talented, and equally as useful within the company as me, can pick up the computer and say, that's right, yes, I was talking to you about your washing machine bought your new drawer, wasn't he? It's ready to order. Do you want to go ahead with it? Somebody else can pick up the trail of what you're doing. That's fundamentally what CRM systems. Automate your sales and marketing. Automate your social media posting. Automate your emailing. Track your replies from the website. When somebody clicks on your website, automatically send them a thank you. A week later, send them how did you get on? Well, what's what we sent you useful? Automate your messaging. Be careful, but it does make sense. Create landing pages and calls to action. Remember earlier, call to action is typically a button, or it's a pop-up window, or something that says you're asking them to do something. Click here for a free this. Click here to download that. Click here to register for our webinar. Call to action. You're asking to do something. And this is a good trick. This is something that the digital marketing people use a lot that most people don't actually realise. What's called a landing page. What are we talking about? So, a landing page is a page on your website that people can't find easily, that typically hides the top bit and hides the bottom bit. So if you get an email through saying, special offer, click here, and you click through to it, you're being taken to a page on their website, probably a landing page. If they're clever, it won't have the navigation at the top, and it won't have all the links and everything at the bottom. It does that for a very specific reason. Human beings have this kind of whole grass is green on the other side syndrome. We have short attention. If we're reading this, I fancy this 10% offer. Well, hang on a minute. At the top it says they do this. I'm going to click away and look at that, and I'll come back to a 10% offer. But they don't. They forget to come back to a 10% offer. They forget because something else tickled their fancy. That phone rang. The dog bit them. The child screaming at home because everybody's at home. Whatever, they got distracted. They forgot to do what you wanted them to do. You gave them a call to action. Click here for your 10% offer. They started to look at it. They started to type in their email address to register for the 10% offer. And they got distracted by something else when your page went off and forgot to come back. The whole thing about a landing page is it's a one-trick pony. They haven't got anything else they can click. It just says, all the page says is, fill in your email for your 10% discount voucher. Once they filled it in, then you can say, click here to take you back to the main website, and they can browse the rest of your website to the heart's content because you've done the thing you wanted them to do. They've given you their email address, and you've given them a 10% discount voucher, which is what your call to action was about. The landing page hides the noise, gives them one thing to do. Publish social media, virtually free to do social media. Write articles, again, virtually free to write articles. If you can't do it, speak to a copywriter. You can get articles, well-written articles done for tens of pounds, or for a few hundred, not for thousands and thousands of pounds. Write some decent articles that are demonstrating your authority, your knowledge, your subject matter, without being overtly salesy. Make sure your website's modern, up to date. It's mobile friendly. It's voice friendly. It's clean. It's clear. If relevant, allow it to take orders. E-commerce to take orders online. Allow it to take orders if relevant to the topic you're selling. It varies. Not expensive. You can get websites published and website tools for very low money nowadays. You get what you pay for, as with anything, but it doesn't. You don't have to spend thousands of pounds on a website to look good and professional. You don't. Okay, so quickly we talked about CRM and kind of the automating your sales and marketing process. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. You know that. Okay. What are the cheap and sometimes free tools that, if you haven't got a system, are worth looking at? So, amongst the best modern day systems, CRM systems out there, HubSpot's probably the best. ActiveCampaign, again, HubSpot's got a great free version. You can buy quite a bit more content for £40, £50, £60 a month. ActiveCampaign, again, is cheap and effective. Fantastic for automating your emails and responses. Bitrix24, huge free layout, huge amount of functionality for free. Again, very good system. These are all cloud-based. Pipedrive, Freshsales. There's lots of tools out there. Don't be afraid. Type into Google, best CRM systems for businesses. Ask somebody like me or a few other people. Really great tools out there for not a lot of money nowadays. How do you create landing pages and calls to action if you don't have the skill set or the ability to do that? You don't need to be a web programmer. You don't need to have a huge amount of skills there. There are they call them drag and drop things. You can do it quite easily now. Systems like HubSpot and ActiveCampaign have built-in landing page and buttons, CTA, call to action creation tools. Or you can get specialist tools that do an even better job. And the two most common are called lead pages and unbouncing. Lead pages, you can do a fantastic thing for £20 a month. Really good for the money. Fantastic value. Talked about publishing your social media and blog posts and scheduling them, so you write them on a Monday and they automatically get posted on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. Again, HubSpot has the ability to build that in. Standalone social media publishing tools, correct? Buffer and Hootsuite, very, very good for those. Free versions and kind of £10 and £15 a month versions. Absolutely excellent at publishing, managing your social media. For not a lot of money. Okay, websites. What are the latest website tools? Do you need to have a completely self-coded, bespoke website? Yeah, potentially. If you're a massive company, you really want to spend the time and money, maybe. If you're a small business, absolutely you do not. There are lots of off-the-shelf tools that will do fantastic work for tens or a couple of £100 a month. And there is no thousands of pounds to set it up. Lots and lots of tools out there that can be done by yourself or by small companies that can really help you for low money. The three of the best ones are Shopify. If you want an e-commerce website, you want to actually sell products and services online, take payment, whether it's a physical product, a pair of trainers, washing machine parts, or advice, or downloadable digital things, music or videos or training courses, something like that. Shopify is fantastic. Somewhere between £30 and £75 a month. Fantastic. If literally taking payments online is not your thing, not relevant to what you do, Webflow and Wix make fantastic websites, really customizable, really easy to use for tens of pounds a month. No more than that. Really good. Okay, so finally, just coming to the end, we've been through some of the tools you can use, some of the techniques on digital marketing, but actually, going back to the very first slide pretty much, is digital marketing the only pony a one-trick pony, the only thing you can use nowadays? No, it's not. Clearly, it's the easiest and the most common thing, particularly in lockdown, but it isn't the only thing to do. But as with any marketing, digital in particular, but any marketing, it is all, I know I'm labouring this, it is all about the customer. Be very, very clear. You've got one job to do the next week. Spend some time, lock yourself in the back room, lock yourself in the bathroom if you like. Really, really think through, who is my customer? You might have two types. Who is your customer? What do they want from me? What is the issue they have got? The issue that keeps them awake at night? The issue that drives them nuts? What is that issue? How can I solve it? Does my product solve it? Does it solve it enough for them to part with money to buy my product or my service? If not, that's what you've got to do with your product or service to make it valuable enough to the customer and make sure their problem is big enough and awkward enough and painful enough for them to spend money on your product or service to solve it. It is all about the customer. And in terms of where you publish yourself, social media, emails, blogs, advertising, all that kind of stuff, just be clear, where does this ideal customer, where do they spend their time? So if they spend their time reading the Times because they're the managing director of, British Telecom again, you're going to have to put your advert or going to have to get some journalist to feature you in the Times if that's what they read. But if you're selling to, we're going back to the stereotypical 18 to 20-year-old want to buy a new pair of trainers or the latest music or the latest kind of hoodie or whatever it is, they're not going to read the Times, probably, or very unlikely. So what do they look? Maybe you need to think about advertising on Instagram or on Snapchat. Maybe you need to do something. Maybe you need to get a YouTube channel and put some videos because they like video. I don't know. That's something to be debated and thought about. It is all about the customer. Number one. Number two and number three, all about the customer. And that's it from me. Thank you. I was Andy Barton. We'll obviously take some questions and answers here now. But any questions after the end of this presentation, please by all means speak to your growth hub at the Greater Birmingham Solihull Let. I'm not one of these guys. I'm a third party, but this is your motley crew. Wakar, who is presenting it with me. Wakar right in the middle. These are the guys. Speak to them, and they'll direct you to me or to a whole number of partners they've got that can help with whatever problem, challenge, idea you've got. Okay, let's try and open it up. If anybody's got any questions, by all means, there is a chat in the GoToMeeting thing. So if you, on the right-hand side of your on the right-hand side of your screen, you've probably got an orange arrow sticking out. Click on that, and that kind of wings the window out slightly, and then you've got a chat option in there. Click on there, and you can type in a question, and by all means, I'll happily answer if I can. If there aren't any questions, and we'll come to that in a sec, but if there aren't questions, or the webinars help, or you've got other things to do, which is completely understandable. It is now just come up to 3 o'clock. Thank you very much for your attendance. Really appreciate your time. Hope you found one or two useful snippets in what we talked about. As I said, any further questions or any things you want to talk about, please contact Wakar and his team. This is their number, this is their email and their website. Contact them, and they'll route you to me if relevant, or to somebody else within the network, other partners and people they deal with, and I'm sure we can get you the correct answer.